Hi guys, welcome back and happy Friday. The weekend is again upon us and I've got lots of royal news that I'm going to bring to you. Now this video, well I say this video, I was aiming to do the cult video today, but because it's not actually timed with the news, I thought these other stories that have come out were a little bit more important and the cult video will be coming to you shortly. So firstly, before I start the video, here is a photograph of my very own two little princesses looking rather adorable in the back of the car getting ready for their walk this morning. I thought I'd share this with you because they looked particularly cute. Don't let the little halos above their head that you can just about make out fool you. They are absolute little divas and often leave a trail of damage and destruction in their wake. It's the price we pay for being dog, or in case sometimes with cats as well, pet owners. So I'm going to start off with the Prince and Princess of Wales, who was seen visiting Hayes Muslim Centre in West London, who have been helping with disaster relief across Turkey and Syria. They have managed to raise thousands of pounds to go towards the efforts and help in medical supplies, clothing and all the other things that the countries are still desperately in need of. Catherine looking lovely in a beautiful headscarf, and Prince William met with aid workers who had recently returned from the crisis zone. They also took part in an origami making session with the Turkish Women's Association, who are making lots of paper cranes, a sign of hope for a fundraiser to continue getting help and aid to the affected areas. Now, one of the stories that the press ran with on this particular visit really irritated me for multiple reasons, and I saw people picking up on social media. Obviously, we can all have a difference of opinion, but I just really disagree with this. They said that when Catherine and William arrived, they were meeting, you can see here, three gentlemen were greeting them at the door. They all shook hands, but the third gentleman declined when Catherine held out her hand after previously shaking Prince William's. And what he did instead was he put his hand over his heart and he bowed his head to her, which is a sign of respect. So of course people have said, oh, Catherine did a misstep. Catherine did something wrong here, handing her, giving her hand out. It is personal preference. And also it's not just their religion, it's lots of religions and cultures where men and women do not feel comfortable in touching the person of an opposite sex that is outside of their family, or in some cases even their spouse. Catherine is obviously used to this. She meets people from all around the world, all different cultures and religions, and she's absolutely used to this. She politely took her hand back. Personally, I think it's actually a really nice gesture to put your hand over your heart and to do that, because, who wants to be shaking people's sweaty hands all the time anyway? And then plus, when I was traveling around Thailand and Vietnam, they actually use the bows, and I like that as well, because it depends where you put the bow as to different signs of respect. So there is nothing disrespectful in what happened here. I feel like the gutter press are really trying to go for the monarchy at the moment, obviously fueled and aided at every opportunity by a certain Montecito couple and their fan base. Now, as no great surprise here, when this big title announcement came out, it also was perfectly timed with Ngozi Fulani, or Marlene from Hackney, to rear her head. Despite having met with Lady Susan Hussey after the big racism row broke out, she's now decided that it wasn't good enough. Does that remind you of anyone? And she wasn't quite happy with it. But isn't it funny that the perfect timing, Ngozi decides that she's stepping down from her position at Sister Space because she's had negative backlash. But there is, again, not one moment where she thinks about the backlash and the false accusations of racism that an 80-something-year-old woman who has dedicated her life to serving the crown felt. But the ladies met. She got invited to meet Lady Susan Hussey. They discussed it like grown-ass women. So why is she stirring the pot again? I'll tell you why, because it happened to just coincide with the perfect timing of Frogmore Cottage, and then of course Lily's christening, and the fact that the royal family members did not go to it. But before I get stuck onto all of that and them, let's talk about a huge thing that has happened, which I am absolutely ecstatic over, and that is today was Prince Edward's birthday, and he has been announced on the day of his birthday, like the Queen's former press secretary Dickie Arbiter had said. He is now the Duke of Edinburgh, and so Sophie, the Countess of Wessex, is now Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. I am so happy with this. I did have an inclination that this was definitely going ahead, because whenever we saw Sophie and Edward at events recently across the Caribbean, they were greeting people across all of the countries that they visited that have actually participated in the Duke of Edinburgh Award and were giving out certificates and awards to them. So the fact that this has now been officially done, I think it is truly wonderful. But it has also drawn attention to the fact that another couple's title change announcement doesn't quite seem to be adding up the same. If you look here, it was an official press release, an official announcement from Royal Communications, and it was presented to the media at the time that the news was then released. The royal reporters were already aware of it, and they had their little statements ready to go because they had been notified before the announcement was officially made. Now, when you compare the official announcement to People magazine's announcement, which is basically a celebrity magazine, I'd say a tabloid magazine. That's how they announced to the world that Lily had been christened, that the royal family had been invited and snubbed her, and more importantly, she is now to be known as Princess Lilibet. People magazine, bearing in mind that they were the ones that gave exclusive photographs of Harry, you know, when he didn't know that he was being packed, when he was sitting on the beach enjoying his first taste of freedom living in America playing with his dog. They were also the magazine that Meghan's 5 friends, Meghan, maybe 2 friends, went to do with the Dear Daddy leak letter, which started the whole Mail on Sunday Thomas Markle hoo-ha. And they are also a magazine that insist on calling the Princess of Wales Kate Middleton. This really does irk me. I think any magazines and newspapers that are still doing that are doing it on purpose as a... Now, had the couple have officially announced it through palace officials, i.e. the king was aware, the palace officials were aware, we would have had a statement like that. At the end of the day, Lily and Archie are still the king's grandchildren. The fact that we got quite a hoity-toity, I will say, message from the Archwell spokesperson talking about birthrights shows it for the attention grab that it was. They blindsided the king. Also further confirmed the fact that the royal reporters were left scrambling, trying to find out from palace sources if it was actually true, which means the palace press office had no idea. So let's talk about the Archwell statement talking about it is their birthright. Well, funny that you now know it was their birthright, but on Oprah, you didn't know that? No, the only reason why Archie wasn't a prince was because of racism. They knew it was because of the fact that the Queen was still alive, and they knew that they would have the right to use those titles when Charles became king. Harry did, in the Tom Bradby secondary interview to Do a Spare, say, oh, my family aren't racist. We've never said that. Harry has now changed it to, it was unconscious racism, unconscious bias. Well, it took you 3 years to say that, sunshine. So it's a bit hard to backpedal on that now, knowing all of the accusations that his family have been attacked for. If he really felt that way, he could have spoken up, well, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago. It's only now that they've decided that they want to claim the titles for the children, the royal family are no longer racist. Now, one thing that they've done, which I always said they were going to do, they're going to weaponise the children. They have weaponised the children here because they used Lily's christening to attack the royal family by saying that they were invited, but they didn't come. You know, the nasty, evil king and queen, Prince William and Catherine, how could they do that? And it's like, well, at the end of the day, you haven't stopped attacking them. Only a few weeks ago, you were still attacking and lying about your family. Okay, Harry didn't mention William in his Dr. Gabor Mate trauma unpacking, but he did mention a lot of stuff to do with Catherine, William and his father in the weeks that we had, didn't we? The continuous publicity stunts when he was promoting Spare, or as we now like to call the book, Wah! But by releasing the fact that the royals were invited, but they didn't come, they've just tried to manipulate the public, saying that they're excluding the children. But, by the way, our children are now prince and princess. Evil royal family, please call them by their titles. You can't make it up. Now, another thing is Harry has said over the last few years, well, even before he met Meghan, he was talking about how he was at his happiest being capped in Wales. He said before that he wanted his children to have a normal upbringing. His life was carved out for him. He doesn't really like being part of the royal family. He wanted to leave years before. The constraints of being a prince, the Goldfish Bowl as being a member of the royal family, that it put him in. Meghan even said on Oprah it can cause damage and hurt and the obligations that would be expected of her children. But in the same breath, now they are prince and princess in a country that has no royalty. It was reported when Harry last saw Charles that he had said to his father that he was going to wait for the children to decide, much like Sophie and Edward have done with their 2 children. Lady Louise has recently turned 18, and it would seem that she has no intention of changing her title to that of princess. Now, as for the smiling assassin herself, the cat that caught the canary, we obviously had paparazzi that just happened to capture Meghan when she was out in West Hollywood. Firstly, she was out there, she was visiting a homeless charity charity called Harvest Home to do a pop-up baby boutique. The charity actually helps homeless pregnant women. Now, Meghan, as you can see here, who is folding a baby grow, seems to be holding her wrist at such an awkward angle. It is not natural. It's because she is showing off all of her jewellery. Later on, when she is seen exiting a restaurant, there are several things I would like to bring up. Firstly, there is video footage actually. I can't show it because it's copyrighted, but if you want to pause this video and open another YouTube, you literally type in Meghan spotted Hollywood. It's like a 30-second video and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about if you want to watch the footage yourself. But here are photographs, and Meghan, one, again, scared of the paparazzi, doesn't look very scared. Two, her security concerns with Harry. She's terrified. This is why they need their security reinstated and they need protection. Meghan and her team from Archwell walked all this distance to the car. Bearing in mind, security are driving the car. Security could have parked where the photographer was to capture them outside leaving the restaurant. The fact that Meghan has deliberately had the car parked up the road, it was like when she walked Archie to school. This is because it gives them a long time to film her, take lots of photographs. Another thing, Meghan is so determined that she wants to be in these shots. Again, this is where I recommend watching the clip for yourself. Meghan actually tells her assistant, who was walking side by side, to back off. You literally see her tap her, turn around and go, back off. You know, unbelievable, because she wants to be in the shots, and you see her get in the car and she doesn't like invite her to get in her side of the car. Oh, no, no. Meghan also thanks the paparazzi. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great day. And, you know, this is not someone that is being hunted and persecuted by the paparazzi, unless she means Hollywood paparazzi are perfectly fine. This, again, is all set up, and she is also deliberately drawing attention to her ring finger, which just happens to be missing a couple of rings. Some people have said that West Hollywood is quite dangerous, bearing in mind she's got armed security teams that work for her that are no doubt around her. Meghan has never shied away from wearing her jewels anywhere else. The fact that she's gone to a homeless charity wearing £10,000 to £12,000 worth of clothes, and then also another, like, probably another 10, 12,000 worth of jewellery, but no, she'll take off the engagement ring. She's probably having it fitted with more diamonds now that her children are a prince and princess knowing her. All they do is silly PR games, and as I said, the fact she's deliberately trying to make sure that her hand is noticed and the rings just happen to be missing, it's all contrived. A story came out recently that Harry and Meghan are honestly thinking about going to a private island. This woman, can you imagine Meghan on a private island with no paparazzi? She wouldn't be able to explain backgrid, would she, on their own personal island? Please. I mean, that story really did make me chuckle. Unless, like I will talk about in the cult video, that they're going to set up their own retreat. Now, what's worse, right, than Harry and Meghan obviously now blindsiding the royal family about these titles? I've got no problem with the children having titles. The children, I always expected them to, the moment, to be honest with you, that the Queen had died. I was quite surprised that Harry and Meghan didn't actually take the titles, but I suppose it would have been called out hypocrisy before their Netflix, wouldn't it? And then Harry's book Spare being released. So they waited till that dumpster fire was over and then have gone, now we're claiming the titles. But what's worse is they're not content, reportedly, according to the Times newspaper, that their friends are actually saying, their sources, their friends that they get to run to the tabloids are saying that Harry and Meghan actually want the children to be HRHs, their Royal Highnesses. And they've actually exclaimed that Princess Beatrice and Eugenie are still HRHs. Yes, but they were also brought up in the UK with the British royal family. They understand the rules, the traditions, actually respected the Queen, their grandmother, and have a relationship with other members of the royal family. Plus, they've got a couple of their own little patronages themselves. They are princesses of the United Kingdom. Harry and Meghan had their HRHs technically taken away from them. They're not allowed to use them. But if they are now going to push, as I said, they're never happy. They're now prince and princess, but we want them this. We want, take. But I think what they're doing is they couldn't get the half in, half out. So now what they're going to do, and especially with Harry suing for security, Harry's done a couple of blunders recently, hasn't he, where he's potentially caused more of a risk to his family's safety, especially with his boasts about the Taliban kills. But the fact is that Harry has obviously put more of a target on his entire family's back. So if they go after the HRH on top of this, you know damn well that they're going to be saying that I want the IPP status reinstated, the internationally protected person for our children. So they are going to use their children to get exactly what they want. The hypocrisy is truly being called out because I'm sorry, but Harry said he wanted a family, not an institute. His own words. But he seems pretty hell-bent on starting up his very own Royal Institute, but stateside. And that's very clear for the fact that they have now decided to take these titles for their children in a country that abolished their links to the monarchy. Now, there's a lot of anger that Charles is weak. The monarchy has allowed a US Kardashian-style royal family to appear. But at the end of the day, the letters patent were done by George V, the grandchildren of the monarch. What could Charles honestly do? The children were entitled to it. And, you know, he's not going to punish his grandchildren. The fact that the palace and the members of the royal family, there was no congratulations to do with Lily's christening. There were no messages of warmth and congratulations. There was nothing on this title. It's been radio silence. Aside from, I'd say, a little bit of a dig in one post when they updated the line of succession with their new titles. They said now that they are aware of Harry and Meghan's intentions. People are angry and saying that Harry and Meghan have been rewarded for their bad behaviour. But like I said, the titles were already the children's. It was just the fact that they weren't using them. They haven't done anything, and it's not the children's fault. But it has been an own goal for Harry and Meghan because it showed them for the greedy hypocrites that they are. If Charles had declined and turned around and said, no, I'm going to change the letters patent, it would have played into Harry and Meghan's allegations of racism that they said on Oprah. Like I said earlier in the video, the only reason why Archie wasn't given a title was because of Archie's skin colour, and that has just been completely proved to be utter bollocks. Now, in the ultimate act of unbelievable levels of hypocrisy here is Harry and Meghan have now independently, all off their own backs, created a media circus about their own children. The children they wanted to grow up, have a normal, private life. They didn't want them growing up in a gilded cage. They didn't want it to be like the Truman Show for their children, like it was for poor Harry. This is where Harry and Meghan have made themselves look stupid yet again on a worldwide stage, because by doing this, Harry has made the decision for his children. He started up his very own trauma cycle. Those children are now going to be very different from their peers in America because they don't have royal titles out there. They will be a prince and princess in America, a country that has no royal family. They will be very much ranked rather than linked. So it's going to be very interesting if Archie and Lily grow up to do their own hatchet job and sell books and do interviews on the fact that their parents, when they were young children, when they had no choice, put them in their very own Royal Goldfish Bowl. So that's it for me on this video. I don't think I'm going to be back actually this weekend, so cult video will be coming to you on Monday because it's my birthday, which is next week, but I'm actually going out and celebrating it this Saturday with my husband. So super excited. I will take some photographs. I've heard that there is a porn star martini tree involved and it's my favourite cocktail in the entire world. So I will be back with you Monday. I will be sharing pictures with you. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.